Okay, so today we're going to do the 31st path, the path of initiation and rebirth, which we call the call to adventure. Notice your feet on the ground and become aware of your breath. Form the red square at the base of your body to activate the sacred energies within you and to prepare us to shift into a more meditative consciousness. Connect with the sensation of heat inside of your body. Feel its burning pulse within you, in every cell, as the force of life that sustains you. Feel it build with every breath. And direct that heat down to the feet, down to extend past the confines of the physical form, down into the clay beneath you, the limestone, the water, the rock, and then piercing the intensely fiery core of the living Gaia Mother. And notice the response of fire that returns back to you in loving gratitude. Draw that heat up on the inhale and feel the increase in your body as you fortify yourself. And now on the exhale, direct the magnified heat up to connect with the pure light form of the holy guardian angel and the essence of our eternal and universal connection with divine will and cosmic fire. Notice what changes occur with that as spirit responds with loving gratitude and provides us with the gifts of fire energy. Notice how this fire might feel different from the earth-connected fire. And draw the energy back down on the inhalation, merging both energies in the body. And on each exhalation, expand the energies out to fill the entire body with the fiery brilliance, being fed by the fiery core at the center of the planet and the cosmic fire above. Allow this fire to grow larger than the physical self, and larger still to form a sphere of fire that encompasses all of us in our egregore, connected through this symbol of the base chakra, the Muladhara. This is the fire of healing, transformation, compassionate nurturance, loving nourishment, and Kundalini. And now collectively, through our intentions, extend this fire out to others who form our pattern of relationship, to add any needed healing, transformation, or nurturance and life energy, trusting that this energy will do what it needs to do. Feel the fire of these connections that we have with our systems. Notice the quality, strength, intensity, and clarity of the flames of connection. And if sensation is absent, then just notice that. Begin with your family of origin, your mother. Exhaling fire out to her. Your father. Extending energy out to them. See them encircled in the nurturing flames, the siblings, and our extended family. Our friend groups, our caring support networks, and work colleagues. Feel the fire of your connection to those. See them encircled in fiery flames of transformation, evolution, and divinity. See the cords that connect you to them through memory, action, experience, being cleansed and healed. Think of hearth fires, learning groups, healing systems, elders, governing bodies, racial and cultural identifications, religious bodies of guidance, countries, the solar system, and the universe. Feel your connection to them and the divinity.
May we be encompassed by the power of the name Adonai Melech and established in the place of Malkuth, the kingdom. May the portal of the 31st pass be open to us, and may we journey thereon in the power of the name Elohim to the gate of the sphere of Hod, splendor. And in the name Elohim Zabaoth, may the gate of Hod be open to us, and may we be firmly established in the wonders of that sphere. Behind the darkness of your closed eyelids, you begin to visualize the astral temple of the Sephiroth Malkuth. As the journey begins, you give the sign of the Enterer, and once again, the 10-sided temple of Malkuth formulates around you with its black and white tiled floors and earthen walls. The sacred flame burns brightly on the central altar. The brazier of incense, fireplace, fountain, and millstone are familiar sights to you now. Uh,
Adonai Haaretz Sandalphon Ashim.
from the clouds of incense in the east, Sandalphon appears. You salute her with the sign of the interim, and she answers with the sign of silence. She speaks.
You have entered the kingdom of Malkuth, the queen. By what symbol dost thou enter?
You answer by the symbol of fire and the symbol of spirit. You hold up the talisman. I seek the path of Shin, the path of rebirth and initiation. Sandalphon gives a nod of awareness. She speaks.
In the courtyard of the Hebrew tabernacle of the wilderness, there stood a fiery altar, the altar of burnt offering, which symbolized spirits who inhabit the plane contiguous to and below the material universe. It is written, "And when after all the phantoms have been banished, thou shalt see that holy and formless fire, that fire which darts and flashes through the hidden depths of the universe. Hear thou the voice of fire."
Sandalphon leads you to the northeast, where there is a great archway of flaming red stones. Bearing on its keystone the letter Shin in brilliant white. Before the door is a veil made from the tarot trump Judgment. The archangel traces a fire triangle, and the veil parts and vanishes. The door leading to the 31st path is carved from pure fire opal. You then hold out the talisman and trace with it the letter Shin. The door opens outward and you begin your journey.
You find yourself in a Greek temple. The great sanctuary is rectangular in shape, built from light gray limestone and surrounded on all sides by a Doric colonnade. The temple is dedicated to three gods known as the Kabiri, or the great gods. 3 stone altars are before you, each topped with a temple flame. They are engraved with one of the names of these gods: great, powerful, and helpful. These are the fiery sons of Hephaestus, the god of the forge, and they are said to be sworn to the service of greater deities of earth, such as Re and Demeter.
Turning, you walk to the entrance of the sanctuary. To your surprise, a red lion is resting in the middle of the entranceway. The lion yawns, exposing its teeth in cat fashion, and gets up, sauntering out into the courtyard. You follow the creature into the courtyard, but it has disappeared. Before you are 2 enormous bronze statues, one masculine and one feminine, representing the heavens and the earth. You pass beyond the courtyard and find yourself on a craggy mountaintop clearing that is dotted with olive trees. You are surrounded by a large gathering of people who are obviously celebrating some important event. It is mid-evening, and the brisk, salty air tells you that the sea is not far off. Torches have been shoved into the ground to provide illumination. One of the celebrants informs you that the festival is in its 3rd day. The revelry has been continuous, yet the participants show no signs of fatigue. You inquire as to the nature of the celebration, and you are told that you are standing on the soil of the goddess Demeter, sacred grove on the island of Samothrace in the Aegean Sea. This is the site of the ancient mysteries of initiation, the oldest rites in all of Greece.
You ask to become a candidate for the mysteries. And after some discussion with a few of the priests, your request is granted. 3 men bring you a plain brown tunic to wear. It is the robe of the candidate, and you're given the title Kosmilus, the attendant. You notice that others in the crowd also wear the robes of a candidate.
Purple cloaked priests, known as the Sai, seem almost possessed as they dance a kind of war dance, leaping in spirals and armed with shields and javelins. Warriors, sailors, shepherds, women, even children take to the dance, stamping their bare feet on the soil of Demeter's sacred grove, carrying offerings of grain, bread, and wine to the goddess. Periodically, all the participants shout the word "Ua" in unison. The revelers whirl around the flagstones enclosing, surrounding a large pillar, a large public hearth called the Hestia. Statues of the goddess Hestia flank the fireplace, while a few of the more brazen dancers leap over the open flame. Parched revelers drink from flasks of water and wine. You expected to see great tables of exotic food, but there is nothing to eat. All offerings of food are strictly for the goddess. The participants have been fasting for 3 days. The sounds of reed pipes, drums, chants, and cymbals raise to a deafening roar that continues well into dusk. It is a very noisy celebration.
With the full arrival of nightfall, the celebration turns more somber. Pine torches are passed out among the participants to be lighted from the Hestia. Then, single file, the group proceeds up a well-worn hillside path, past rocky outcroppings and stunted mountain trees. The procession eventually winds through the darkness to the rocky edge of a cliff, where the mouth of a large cavern is flanked by the carved images of 2 dogs holding great torches between their jaws. This is the cave of Zarnithia. The grotto of Hecate, the dark goddess of the moon and the underworld. One by one, the celebrants file into the gaping mouth of the earth, with a slight feeling of déjà vu left over from similar excursions on the path of Tao. You follow into the dark passageway.
The tunnel leads downward. Torches lining the walls throw a reddish light into the chamber, and you're able to see fairly well. However, the path is stifling and hot. Steam rises from the cracks in the tunnel floor. It feels as though you are walking through the molten bowels of the earth. Acrid odors drift upward, lava and liquefied iron. The atmosphere suddenly seems volatile and explosive. Beneath your feet, the earth seems to tremble, groaning with pangs of volcanic pressure. Your ears pick up the slow, rhythmic sound of metal striking metal, a hammer pounding iron, and the hissing of steam as flaming hot metal meets water. You find yourself in a great underground chamber with a high ceiling, surrounded by purple-clad Sai priests bearing torches in one hand and javelins in the other. Gone is their former reverie. They are silent and still, caught in the seriousness of the moment. You notice other people who were formerly dressed as candidates. They are now dressed in the purple cloth of initiates. You are the final candidate for the mysteries this night. In the center of the cavern is a great roaring flame. Huge braziers of fire cast thick clouds of incense into the stifling hot air. Together, the billowing smoke and the intense heat make you lightheaded. Sweat flows profusely out of every pore. A priest steps forward to face you. He is the Qabalistic priest, the cleanser of sins. He addresses you sternly and says,
"Stoop not down into the darkly splendid world, wherein continually lieth a faithless depth, and Hades wrapped in gloom, delighting in unintelligible images, precipitous, winding, a black, ever-rolling abyss, ever espousing a body unluminous, formless, and void."
the priest asks you to confess to whatever sins or injustices you have committed in the past, things that weigh heavily on your heart. Searching the innermost parts of your soul, you focus on that offense which you committed, which troubles you the most. You are reluctant to do this, for it is difficult to admit your faults even to yourself, much less in front of the entire assembly of initiates. But you realize that it would be a catharsis, a healing experience, without which no spiritual progress can be made. Swallowing your pride and holding out the talisman containing the symbols of fire and spirit, you confess your greatest sin before the priest and the entire group. The side priests seem to fade from view as you begin to hallucinate from the lack of oxygen in the stuffy chamber. In the stifling mist, you see the face of the red lion. This transforms into the brilliant figure of a pure white sphinx in the midst of a flaming white hot glory. The creature addresses you in your mind.
"I am the synthesis of the elemental forces. I am also the symbol of humanity. I am life, and I am death, and I am the child of the night of time. I am the soul in twin aspect, united to the higher by purification, perfected by suffering, and glorified by trial. I have come where the great gods are through the power of the mighty name."
Two priests come forward and grab you roughly by the arms, shoving you unceremoniously into the central flame. The heat of the fire envelops you. Your clothing is incinerated and the hairs of your body are singed. The talisman of fire and spirit that you carry is utterly consumed. You feel intense pain as you endure this baptism by fire. But it's not an unbearable pain. Instead, you have a sense that all of your impurities, your body's toxins, and your personal vices are being burned away. Your sins are being purged from you. It is an exhilarating feeling. You hear the voice of the Sphinx as it speaks to you.
"All things which issue from the One, the source of sources, and conversely go back to the One, are divided into many bodies. For not in matter did the source of fire, which is in the beyond, first enclose its power in acts, but instead in mind. For the framer of the fiery world is the mind of mind, who first sprang from mind, clothing the one fire with the other fire and binding them together. The second intellect is a skilled worker. It is the dispenser of life-giving fire that fills up the life-giving womb of Hecate and pours on the connectors a force of fruitful and very potent fire. From the source of sources, the birth of multicolored matter leaps forth. From there is a lightning bolt sweeping along, obscuring the flower of fire as it leaps into the hollows of the worlds. Thence, a fiery whirlwind drawing down the brilliance of the flashing flame, penetrating the abysses of the universe. Thence, all things extend their wondrous rays downward. From the source leap forth all relentless thunders and lightning receiving womb of the shining ray of Hecate, who is generated from the source, and from it leap the girding flower of fire and the powerful breath located beyond the fiery poles.
The hands of the side priests reach in through the flames to grasp you. Their sinewy arms pull you out of the purifying flames. Steam rolls off your bright red naked skin. You are unsteady on your feet, but you are unharmed. The priests gently wrap you in the purple cloak of the initiate. They place a crown of olive twigs on your head. Before you, the vision of the Sphinx continues as the creature again speaks.
After the self-generated source of sources thought its work and sewed the bond of love, heavy with fire and all things, in order that the all might continue to love for eternity. The soul, being a brilliant fire by the power of the source, remains immortal and is the mistress of life. It fills up the many wombs of the world. In the center of Hecate is born in the midst of the source. In the left flank of Hecate exists the source of virtue. Around the hollow of her right flank, a great stream of the primordially generated soul gushes forth in abundance, totally ensouling light, fire, ether, and worlds. Since having filled all souls with a deep love, the source mixed the spark of the soul with the harmonious qualities of intellect and divine will, and to these were added a third, pure love, as the guide and holy bond of all things. Unwearied doth nature rule over the worlds and works, and upon the shoulders of the great goddess is nature in her vastness exalted. Truly Rhea is a source and stream of blessed intellectual realities, for she, first in power, receives the birth of all these in her inexpressible womb, and pours forth this birth on the all as it runs its course.
The vision of the white sphinx disappears. In its place is a vision of a burly smith god Hephaestus, standing over an anvil, pounding red-hot metal with a hammer. Behind the god is the forge of holy fire, the ever-burning flame. The piece of hot metal Hephaestus is working on seems to be triangular. The god holds the metal on the anvil with iron tongs. The sweat of the god forms fiery droplets at his brow, which fall on the hot metal and evaporate with a hiss. The air is stuffy and humid with steam. Sparks fly whenever hammer hits metal.
Your head begins to clear as the vision of the god fades, and before you is the Khoi's priest. In the palm of his hands, he holds a triangle made of iron, like the one forged by Hephaestus. Before your eyes, the metal triangle becomes a white-hot flame. The Khoi's priest holds the tongue of fire against your chest, and the flame is absorbed into your heart. A feeling of warmth radiates from your chest to every part of your body.
The priest explains, this is the sacred fire that was stolen from the forges of the god Hephaestus by the titan Prometheus, whose name means forethought. Prometheus hid a brand of the eternal flame in a hollow stalk and carried it back to the world of humankind. For an instant, you have a vision of a flaming meteorite striking across the sky as it falls to earth.
He did this so that humankind could develop the arts of civilization, but his act of kindness towards humans and his consequential sacrifice resulted in something far more important. For this flowering flame that burns in your heart is the sacred fire, the spiritual will in humanity that brings us closer to that which is divine. May the flower of fire keep you pure and ever consecrated to the highest. Through it, may you pledge always to act virtuously. May it protect you from all evil and imbalance.
The side priests stomp their feet, raise their javelins, and shout, "Uwa," to end the ceremony. You are quickly ushered to the surface and back to the grove of the goddess Demeter, where a banquet awaits the hungry ritual goers. You thank many of the participants in the ceremony, but they merely smile, shake their heads, and give the sign of silence.
You are elated by this adventure, changed forever by the experience. You feel connected to something greater than yourself. From this day forth, you pledge yourself to the service of the path of light. You will always strive to become more than human and rise above the ashes of your old self. After a few moments of contemplation, you turn to leave. The journey back is swift. Soon you are at the wooden door of the Temple of Malkuth. And once inside, Sandalphon seals the portal and covers it with the veil of the tarot card of judgment. Standing at the altar flame, you feel totally rejuvenated. In fact, you feel so strengthened that you are quite willing to rush headlong into the 30th path. Sandalphon persuades you otherwise. Bidding her farewell, you salute with the projection sign. She in turn gives the sign of silence. You leave the Temple of Malkuth and re-enter the physical world.